This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. A 999 call was made by the man accused of killing Natalie McNally. His trial hears that it was made on the night after her death. He denies murder. The three people who were killed in a multi-vehicle car crash in County Armagh at the weekend were all parents.
It's not only affected and shocked our community, it's affected 3 or 4 different communities, Cookstown, Donohoe and further afield.
The Donohoe inquest hears that his mental health was considered by police officers investigating his disappearance. Campaigners protesting against cuts at the Southwest Acute Hospital in Enniskillen take their concerns to Stormont. The life of a footballing kitman legend is examined in a film which premieres tomorrow night.
There was one man who used to live next door to me here, and he had gone with his son and he came over to me, and he was sobbing. He said, "Charlie, I can boast. I was here when we beat England."
We have all the reaction to Ireland's record-breaking victory over England in Rugby's Six Nations Championship.
And it's looking pretty mild over the next few days, which means our rain will be coming from a different direction. There will be dry spells too. I'll have all the details later.
Hello and welcome to Monday's programme. The trial began today of the man accused of murdering Natalie McNally, the 32-year-old woman from Lurgan who was 15 weeks pregnant. She was found dead at her home in December 2022. The father of her unborn child, 36-year-old Stephen McCullough from Lisburn, denies killing her. His tearful 999 call was played to the jury on the opening day of the trial. Our reporter Cormac Campbell was in court.
32-year-old Natalie McNally was 15 weeks pregnant when she was killed in her Silverwood Green home in Lurgan the week before Christmas 2022. Today, her partner, 36-year-old Stephen McCullough from Woodland Gardens in Lisburn, the father of her unborn child, went on trial charged with her murder. Mr McCullough denies the charge. In court today for the first day of evidence were members of Ms McNally's family. That evidence will be presented to a jury of 6 men and 6 women.
In opening the prosecution case, Charles McCrainer KC said that this was a planned, calculated and premeditated murder caused by compression of the neck, 3 stab wounds and blunt force trauma to the head. The prosecution argued that the murder took place between 8:50 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Sunday, the 18th of December 2022.
A day later, Mr McCullough made a 999 call from Natalie McNally's home. The recording of this, where an emotional Mr McCullough administered CPR until the emergency services arrived, was played to the court. Prosecutors said Mr McCullough's emotional state at this time was an act, a put-on, part of his plan. The court then heard that at the scene he told police he'd been engaged in a 6-hour live gaming stream online at the time of the killing. But the prosecution said this live stream was pre-recorded, something they say allowed the defendant to travel to Lurgan and back. The court watched police body-worn footage outside Ms McNally's home in which Mr McCullough suggested an ex-partner of hers could be responsible. The court heard evidence from a paramedic and 2 police officers who attended the scene, with the defence questioning aspects of accounts not previously recorded in statements and notes.
This trial is expected to last 5 weeks and hear from around 20 witnesses. It'll feature CCTV, maps and other multimedia evidence. It continues tomorrow. Cormac Campbell, BBC Newsline, Belfast.
And if you want to hear more of today's evidence, Chris Buckler and Kelly Bonner have comprehensive coverage in a BBC News NI podcast special that's available now on BBC Sounds or on the BBC News NI YouTube channel. It's called Natalie McNally Murder, YouTuber on Trial. Now, 3 people have died after a road crash in County Armagh at the weekend. Laura Hoy Henry, Conor Quinn and John Guy were killed when the car they were travelling in was involved in a 3-vehicle collision near the village of Moy on Saturday evening. A local councillor said their deaths had torn 3 families and 3 communities apart in the blink of an eye. Our Mid-Ulster reporter Niall McCracken has more.
Conor Quinn was 31 and from Derrylaughan in County Tyrone. John Guy was 48 and originally from Dublin but living in Katy, County Armagh. And 23-year-old Laura Hoy Henry was from Cookstown in County Tyrone. All of those who lost their lives on this stretch of road in County Armagh on Saturday night were parents. The 3-vehicle collision happened on the Armagh Road near the Moy. Police said that 4 people sustained injuries and 3 of them had received medical treatment. Local SDLP councillor Carol McQuaid is from the Moy and says people in the village have been left in shock.
Saturday night, the messages started to come through. A lot of people in the area heard the sirens, numerous ambulances, fire brigade and the police. So we knew it was a major incident. So it's not only affected and shocked our community, it's affected 3 or 4 different communities, Cookstown, Donohoe and further afield.
Alliance MLA Peter McReynolds is chair of the all-party road safety group in the Northern Ireland Assembly.
Every death on our roads is one too many, which is why I started the all-party group on road safety, because road safety is something that matters to all of us and we must all be part of the solution. Since the group was created, there have been 80 deaths on our roads, and each time we meet there are more tragedies to reflect upon, and I wish this wasn't the case.
4 other people died in road traffic collisions in the Republic of Ireland on Saturday, bringing the total number of people killed in road crashes on the island of Ireland at the weekend to 7. Niall McCracken, BBC Newsline.
A former chief superintendent in the PSNI has told the inquest into the death of Noah Donohoe that he publicly ruled out foul play in response to what he described as baseless rumours circulating at the time. Muir Clark, who has since left the PSNI and is now serving as a police commissioner on a Caribbean island, gave his evidence by video link. Noah's body was discovered in a storm drain almost a week after the 14-year-old went missing in June 2020. Our reporter Kevin Sharkey was in court.
Robert Muir Clark was not part of the police investigation at the time, but he was deployed for media duties. Giving evidence at the inquest into the schoolboy's death, the witness was questioned extensively about his role and his comments to the media at the time of Noah's disappearance. Robert Muir Clark was questioned by a barrister representing Fiona Donohoe across 2 main points. He was asked why he said during press briefings at the time that foul play was not a factor in the police investigation. He said it was because of baseless rumours that foul play was a factor. He was also asked why he said that Noah Donohoe may have suffered a potential head injury after falling from his bike, when 2 witnesses who saw him falling didn't mention him hitting his head. The witness said he didn't think this was unreasonable, given that afterwards Noah Donohoe and his clothes parted company and he ended up naked. A serving police detective sergeant also appeared at the inquest today. He was responsible for coordinating the collection of CCTV footage when the CID took charge of the investigation 3 days after Noah went missing. At the beginning of evidence from the police witness, the inquest was shown a 9-minute compilation of Noah's final journey from his home towards his last known destination. The witness was asked about procedures and processes around collecting CCTV images during the investigation, as well as his knowledge of police theories at the time. The witness was asked if he was aware of police considerations at the time about the possible presence of drugs or mood-altering substances, by way of explaining Noah's out-of-character behaviour before his disappearance. The witness said these were among the conversations he had. The police witness also told the inquest that the CCTV footage they had collected at the time didn't indicate any third-party involvement in the boy's disappearance. Kevin Sharkey, BBC Newsline at the Coroner's Court in Belfast.
We have more detail of today's inquest on our special series of the State of Us podcast. If you scan the QR code on your screen, it will take you straight to the latest episode, and you can subscribe on BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch on the BBC News NI YouTube channel. That's the Noah Donohoe inquest. Some of today's other stories now, and a 25-year-old woman has appeared in court charged with the attempted murder of a man in Lurgan. It follows a stabbing in the Lord Lurgan Park area of the town on Saturday. Carla Hanratty of Derry Street in the town spoke once during the brief hearing to confirm she understood the charge against her. The case will be heard again at the end of the week. There was no bail application. A man in his 70s has died in a fire at a house in the waterside area of Londonderry. Firefighters from Derry and Strabane, plus 2 specialist rescue teams from Belfast, spent more than 2 hours tackling the fire on the Limavady Road yesterday afternoon. And a teenage boy in Derry had his nose broken after an assault which the police are investigating as a sectarian hate crime. The 16-year-old was attacked early yesterday in the Ship Quay Place area of the city centre. The deputy mayor says the boy was singled out simply because he's Protestant. Campaigners hoping to save services at the South West Acute Hospital were outside Stormont this morning. Around 200 protesters from Save Our Acute Services arrived from Enniskillen and pushed a hospital bed towards Parliament buildings with a list of steps to return services to the hospital. Our South West reporter Elaine Mitchell was there.
An early start in Enniskillen brought 2 busloads of campaigners to the steps of Stormont, here to hand-deliver 180,000 statements of support for their campaign to get emergency general surgery restored at the hospital. It was removed temporarily in 2022.
We've met recently with the Western Trust, and they've actually written to the Department of Health to ask if they want them to restore the service or to have a newly commissioned service to bring it back. So there's no overriding medical reason that this can't happen. This is now an issue of resources and of funding and prioritisation.
The bed, pushed by protesters, was adorned with a quilt depicting what they see as the way forward.
We don't have an adequate health service in Fermanagh, which is a disgrace. It's a beautiful hospital, a really wonderful hospital, and it's not been utilised.
Despite being on their doorstep, campaigners felt that there was a poor show from politicians. It was mainly those elected in the West that took the time to mingle.
What do we want? Emergency surgery! When do we need it? Now!
People are very concerned about the time that it takes for them in an emergency situation to get to hospital. And I think those anxieties need to be heard. They need to be heard by the Health Minister.
SWA was built, it was picked to be in Fermanagh so that it could meet cross-border potential. Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal, Cavan, Monaghan, the counties are there, the people are there, the population's there. We need now the will from Health Minister North and South to bring the potential to the hospital.
This has been a long-running campaign, and while there's no immediate resolution today, the campaigners are optimistic that this bodes well for the future of emergency general surgery at the South West Acute Hospital. Elaine Mitchell, BBC Newsline at Stormont.
The mystery surrounding the final resting place of a ship that sank off the coast of County Donegal more than 200 years ago may now finally have been solved. More than 250 people lost their lives when the Royal Navy frigate HMS Saldanha crashed into the cliffs near Port Salin. So has part of the wreckage finally been found? Here's our Northwest reporter, Kieran Turish.
Recent sand displacement on the beach at Ballymastocker Bay has revealed several pieces of wood dotted along the beach, and some are convinced it could solve a mystery dating back to 1811. In December of that year, 253 people on board the HMS Saldanha lost their lives in a terrible storm. A replica of the ship is on display at Fort Dunree Military Museum. In the 1980s, local fishermen found its anchor off the coast in Donegal.
As it was heading towards Fannet Head on the 4th of December 1811, it got caught in stormy seas and it ended up sinking. It crashed on some rocks and it sunk. And there was 250 lives on board, and one survived, and that was the captain and his part. And then the captain actually washed up on a local beach. It was Ballymastocker Bay that he washed up on, and he asked for a drink, and he was given poaching, and he ended up dying. So the only survivor then was a parrot, who actually flew away, and a local farmer didn't know what it was, and he shot it.
One man who has extensively researched the history of the Saldanha says the recent discovery could be the starboard bow of the ship.
The chances of it being anything else are very, very slim. There's no other vessels of that size that would have foundered in that part of the loch and broke up in that way. So I'd be fairly convinced that it's the bow of the Saldanha.
The HMS Saldanha was a British 36-gun frigate that patrolled the Irish coast during the Napoleonic Wars. It was sailing from Buncrana along with another ship to enforce a naval blockade against France in the North Atlantic when tragedy struck. Journalist and author Anne Cadwallader organised a memorial to those who lost their lives on the 200th anniversary in 2011.
And I felt that, you know, they deserved to have some kind of honour and commemoration. And we had a very successful commemoration. We raised a lot of money for the lifeboat. After the wreckage in 1811, due to public subscription, enough money was raised to build Fanad Lighthouse. That wouldn't be there now if it hadn't been for the Saldanha.
It's now hoped that more specialist, non-invasive investigations will be carried out to try to establish if this was in fact remnants of the Saldanha. What would happen after that remains to be seen. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, County Donegal.
Incredible story. Now, from refereeing behind the Iron Curtain during the Cold War to serving as the Republic of Ireland's kitman for 16 years, there isn't much Charlie O'Leary hasn't seen or done in football. He was there in 1988 when his team beat England in Stuttgart, and again in 1994 when they stunned Italy in New York. This month he turned 102, and tomorrow night a new film about his life will premiere at the Dublin International Film Festival. Our reporter Luke Sproul has been to meet him.
It was the start of a glorious era for the side, and it coincided with Charlie's time as a kitman.
I saw grown men cry. There was one man who used to live next door to me here, and he had gone with his son, and he came over to me, and he was sobbing. He said, "Charlie, I can boast. I was here when we beat England."
Charlie became a cult figure as part of the team's backroom staff, but what's not so well known is his role founding junior football leagues that would go on to have an outsized influence across the island. In the late 1940s, he set up the street leagues in the East Wall in Dublin. Tony Dunn, Liam Brady and Johnny Giles were some of the future stars who played in them.
Promising, but Giles' shot was held by Kelsey.
At that time, schoolboy football hadn't been organised, and I said there's nowhere for a young boy around 14 years of age if he wants to play football, soccer football. At least these kids at that age with a chance of representing their roads.
By the 1950s, the leagues had arrived in Northern Ireland and were being played on pitches like this one in East Belfast. At least 3 future members of Northern Ireland's 1958 World Cup squad, Bertie Peacock, Harry Gregg and Jimmy McIlroy, would all take part. And they also provided the stage for the man who would go on to score perhaps the most famous goal ever in the history of Northern Ireland at the 1982 World Cup in Spain.
Still Billy Hamilton, he's got past Tendilio. And Armstrong!
Charlie's story will now be told in a new film, produced by Fergus Dowd and Joe Lee. Fergus says that Charlie has an incredible legacy.
You represented your road, you played with your friends, you got a jersey, you know, and I know one of the guys, Larry Redmond, who had played in it, he had said to Charlie, look, it was like playing for your country.
It's been a long and storied footballing life. So what is Charlie's favourite moment?
When we went to Italy that time, we were brought to see the Pope. I was frozen, couldn't speak. That, to me, was the biggest thrill I ever got in my life.
Luke Sproul, BBC Newsline.
Just brilliant. Absolutely love it. Now, every Ireland rugby fan is still smiling today after that big win over England in the Six Nations. Well, we shouldn't have doubted them, should we, Stephen?
We should have known better, Tara, and pretty much everybody doubted them, including you, including me. We should definitely know better, but I don't think many, if any, people predicted what Ireland would do at Twickenham at the weekend. It was an incredible result, an amazing performance by Ireland as they produced a quite brilliant 42 points to 21 victory over England. Records were broken in the match for points scored, the 5 tries scored and the margin of victory, with this Ulsterman Stuart McCluskey in absolutely rampaging form. Now, Ireland remain in contention in the championship, and with Wales and Scotland at home to come, the Triple Crown is very much a prospect. Here's Gavin Andrews.
It's a phenomenal performance for Caelan Doris's men.
England didn't know what had hit them. Questions had been asked about this Ireland side and the ongoing transition under Andy Farrell. The players answered with a 5-try demolition on an afternoon for the ages.
Gives Celebration Park! The green!
Ulster centre Stuart McCloskey embodied the Irish performance as he toyed with some of the game's biggest names.
Yeah, it's pretty positive, isn't it? I think people wrote us off a wee bit after the first 2 rounds. And probably rightly so in some ways, but I think we knew deep down that we had a lot more to give when things went well, or if we got our stuff right, and I think we got a lot of stuff right today.
Pretty much 10 years on from your Irish debut here. Is this your best day in a rugby, well, on a rugby pitch with Ulster and Ireland?
Oh, yeah, it's up there. It's up there. There's a few good days in that Grand Slam here a few years ago when I was playing, but yeah, this is probably up there.
It's about respect, isn't it? It's about respect for one another, and making sure that your teammates know that you're there for them, and when you get out your own way and you know there's no distractions in your own mind, you can do that type of performance. So unbelievably proud of the lads.
So a signature win and a huge lift for Irish rugby.
Oh, we're just saying it's one of the best days. Definitely, I think most enjoyable win of my career. Not easy to win over here. Lads talked about it and how when you do, it's pretty special. And seeing the final whistle there, everyone kind of chanting and stuff, it was incredible.
And with Wales and Scotland up next, both in Dublin, thoughts can turn to a triple crown. Gavin Andrews, BBC Newsline, London.
We'll enjoy it, but we won't get carried away just yet. Now, Rory McIlroy came up just 1 shot short at the Genesis Invitational Tournament in Los Angeles last night. His late charge, including a birdie on the 18th hole, couldn't quite force a playoff with the eventual winner, Jacob Bridgman. Chasing down the American 6-shot advantage at the start of the final round, McIlroy shot a round of 67 with 4 birdies on the back 9, including this outrageous chip-in from the bunker on the 12th hole. With the defence of his Masters title looming in April, McIlroy is certainly happy with the way he's playing.
I feel like my game's in really good shape. I'm looking forward to getting on some, Bermuda greens over the next couple of weeks, and it's feeling good. It's feeling much better than it did in Dubai, which was a big step in the right direction, and just have to keep working.
Yeah, and that putt earned him an extra £400,000 or £500,000. Pretty nice. Now, there are just over 6 weeks to go until the start of Gaelic football's Ulster Championship, and the defending champions Donegal's impressive form continues in the Allianz League. They maintained a perfect start to their Division 1 campaign with a victory over Armagh. Nicola McCarthy rounds up the weekend action.
It's 4 wins from 4 for Jim McGuinness's side, who sit pretty at the top of the Division 1 table.
There's never more than a kick of the ball between us, so it'll probably be the same well into the future, so definitely we're conscious of that. But, any day you come here and you get a victory, you have to be thankful.
Not such a pretty outlook, though, for Armagh. 3 consecutive defeats and now battling to retain their top-tier status. It's looking even more bleak for Monaghan, who remain without a point and rooted to the foot of the Division 1 table after a 230-211 home defeat to Mayo. Meanwhile, Down continue to lead the way in Division 3. They were 229-119 winners away to Wexford, a boost to their promotion effort. Finally, in hurling's Division 1B, a big boost for Antrim's survival hopes. They recorded a 25-12 win over Carlow at Corrigan Park, with Dublin up next.
No easy game, never as against Dublin. We know what they have, we know what they're coming with, but as I say, we're taking each week at a time now. Our next opponents are Dublin and we'll be giving them a rattle.
Davy Fitzgerald's side will certainly head into that game in Dunloy on Sunday with a spring in their step. Nicola McCarthy, BBC Newsline.
Local football's Irish Premiership title race is really hotting up. Larne still lead despite defeat to Carrick Rangers at the weekend, but Coleraine are now just 2 points behind thanks to a 1-0 win against Ballymena United. And the reigning champions Linfield beat Glentoran 1-0 to lie 5 points behind. The next game is a big one. Larne face Linfield at Inver Park tomorrow night.
Yeah, it gives us a chance now, a big game on Tuesday. And Larne have had a brilliant 3 quarters of the season, and they've match winners, they've the boys who have won the league twice. So yeah, they're tough games.
In ice hockey, the Belfast Giants lead by 6 points at the top of the Elite League after 2 wins at the weekend, including a 7-0 defeat of Dundee last night. And finally, Royal Portrush will stage another big golf event next summer. The prestigious 132nd Amateur Championship will take place on both courses, Dunluce and Valley, in June. Portrush has staged the Amateur on 3 previous occasions. Fabulous tournament it is too. Tara.
Stephen, thank you very much. Well, John McCabe took this in the Portadown area yesterday, but it must have been between the thundery showers. That's not my vision of yesterday. Cecilia, how's the rest of the week looking?
Yeah, some really big storms around yesterday afternoon, but it was nice in the morning. It actually felt quite spring-like for a while. The rest of the week is going to be mild, well, at least mostly mild. It will still be unsettled in that there'll be areas of rain coming in from time to time, and most of us have had some wet weather this afternoon, and this is what it looks like on the radar at the moment. So there is still some rain around. It'll gradually move away northeastwards this evening, so turning more patchy, more localised, but lots of cloud to come through the night. Still a few dribs and drabs of rain, and it will be quite a mild night as well, with temperatures no lower than 8 or 9 degrees. So we're looking at a very mild day on Tuesday, and there's a pretty good chance that it will stay dry in many places for a good chunk of the day. That's not bad. Lots of cloud around, quite blustery at times, and the cloud will always be that bit thicker in the west, bringing some rain and drizzle from time to time, which will become more persistent late in the day. But many eastern areas will have lots of dry weather, and the wind may even poke a few holes in the cloud up towards the north coast and over County Down. We could see temperatures up to 13 degrees. Now, that area of rain will stay in the west tomorrow evening, and hopefully there's a chance we may see another spectacular dance from the starlings, a murmuration, as we did in fact over the weekend. It really is fantastic if you get to see that over the lagoon. So lots of rain in the west initially tomorrow, and it's only slowly going to trundle eastwards. In fact, most of the significant rain will be in the north and west, and places where most of the rain has been recently, Belfast and the southeast, may not have too much. Moving on to Wednesday then, it's still mild, but it's cloudy and damp, and there'll be areas of showers working their way northwards, and some of those could be quite heavy, potentially thunder in places again. Temperatures, though, still on the mild side. So we're looking at Thursday, where we've still got this mild air. It could be very wet and very windy for a time on Thursday night, and then a change to something chillier moves in on Friday, but with that comes a bit of sunshine. So some sunshine by the end of the week, Tara.
We'll take it, Cecilia. Thank you. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30 from everyone on the team. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.